Thank you, and happy to be here. My name is Rolf Jansson, and I've been the CEO of Aspo for a bit more than a year, starting August 2021. And we launched our new strategy in beginning of December last year, and the headline is basically moving towards a compounder profile. We've been able to accomplish 3 acquisitions during year 2022, but has also turned the profile of the other businesses more towards a compounder profile, very much looking at stable cash flow and earnings. A brief introduction to Aspo. It's a business with a history of more than 90 years. We were listed at the stock exchange here in Helsinki in 1999. We have close to 12,000 shareholders and basically paid dividends of around 5% per year over the past 10 years. Last year we were close to 600 million euros of revenue and had an operating profit of 42 million euros. And our guidance for this year when it comes to operating profit is 52 to 57 million euros. Currently we have 3 core businesses. ESL Shipping, a shipping company, very much focused on the Baltic Sea area, small ships allowing you to have a stable development. Long customer contracts. Then Telko, it's operating both in plastics, chemicals and lubricants. It's very much an innovative company, not only buying and selling, but also innovating the right materials for their customers, kind of working as a bridge between the principals and the customers. Leipurin serves the food industry and bakery industry, again also having recipes, etc., which they offer their clients and then support them with the raw materials, etc. And we then at Aspo level, we form a platform where we at the best of our competencies support these businesses in development, M&As, sustainability, financing, etc. Sustainability has been a key topic of Aspo for the, let's say, last 2 years. We've been working extremely hard on this and particularly tried to build very clear measures. What already was referred to, what you measure you get. And we believe in that philosophy also here. Emissions, we look at emission intensity, try to break the correlation between growth and emissions. We've been successful when it comes to that during this year. Mainly it's referred to kind of the efficient capacity utilization of our vessels, but also new use of business intelligence. For example, virtual arrival, how the ships will approach harbors. We're very much focused on safety and also on employee and customer satisfaction. And as a note on that, we just received our customer satisfaction figures, net promoter score of ESL Shipping, which was clearly beyond 50. So we're doing fairly good here. And when it comes to governance, it's more about continuous improvement from our perspective. And for all of the businesses where we're operating in, we want to be forerunners in sustainability in that industry. So that's our ambition. Last year in December, we launched new financial targets, raised the bar and also expanded the financial measures to be measured. We're looking for 8% of EBIT, at least 5 to 10% growth, return on equity beyond 20% and gearing less than 130%. Overall, in order to achieve this, we need to maximize the value and the performance of the current businesses. We need to be very careful when allocating resources to different businesses. We need to have a strong enough balance sheet that supports this strategy, and then we are on an ongoing basis developing our competences both on an Aspo level as well as in the businesses. This is our recent financial performance since beginning of 2020. When it comes to growth over the past quarters, we've had approximately, let's say, 20% growth compared to previous year, driven particularly by ESL, also Telko, and with the exception that during last quarter, due to the Russian situation, Telko did not grow as fast as the previous quarters. Also, Leipurin has shown good growth over the past quarters. When it comes to operating profit, basically ESL Shipping, Telko are doing extremely well, and Leipurin has gradually improved their EBIT margins. Currently, we have been clearly above target, the 8% of EBIT over the past couple of quarters, moving around 8 to 10%. Then over to our kind of vision of Aspo being a compounder. So we're basically looking to accomplish, let's say, 3 to 5 growth platforms, meaning that we will also enter into new businesses beyond the businesses where we are operating today. If you look at the new businesses that we would be interested in, I would say we're looking for profitable businesses, enterprise value, maybe magnitude 30 to 50 million euros. Especially important is that the market allows both for organic growth as well as growth via acquisitions. And we also want businesses who support the financial targets, both when it comes to sustainability as well as basically pure financial targets. This basically means that, or if we look at the profile of the businesses that we're looking for, it's more business to business type of companies. And I would exclude project-focused businesses, very much technology-driven businesses, and maybe the branding-focused businesses would not be part of the really, let's say, tight scope of what we're looking for. What does then compounding mean for us in the already existing businesses? I would say that Telko is the more traditional compounder. We are very much focused on M&A-driven growth. I will come back to the acquisitions that we already did this year. Luckily, there's also good room for organic growth, particularly in the value-added, let's say, engineering, technical products that we're more focusing on. These market segments allows us to grow. We also see significant synergies when it comes to the acquisitions. Basically, you can sell a broader product assortment via the already existing sales channels. And there's also scalability as we see it. So supply chain, support services, etc. You're able to serve a broader range of products and also a larger revenue. ESL Shipping, here our take on the strategy is that we want to achieve stable cash flow. This is very much a different business from the typical shipping companies which operate on the spot market. We're very much focused on a regional business, on the smaller coaster, handy-sized vessels. We have long customer contracts, even 5 to 7 years, which makes this a stable business. We are very much prioritizing our CapEx investments. We'll come back to an example regarding that. Investing in business intelligence, which means that we will have a more efficiency to operate our vessels when we know exactly where the vessels are, how fast they are moving, how they interlink with the value chains of the customers. If I move on to Leipurin, as mentioned, we are not still fully satisfied with the financial performance of Leipurin. It has been developing in the right direction, but there's still way to go. We're very much focused on different levers to improve performance, particularly, let's say, in the commercial space and based on fact-based decisions, what to sell, and to whom to sell, how broad a product assortment, pricing, etc. Here we see great opportunities. We made an acquisition here in Scandinavia, and by that we are offering a Nordic gateway for our suppliers. When it comes to growth, there's a lot of interesting segments. For example, the food industry expanding from pure bakery, where we see good growth opportunities. And overall, this is a stable market with interesting growth niches added to that. As said, I've been here as the CEO since August last year, and this is a summary of what we accomplished so far. I will give you some highlights, kind of concrete, making it more concrete, also what the big strategy actually means in practice. We started by divesting 2 of our businesses to clean up the portfolio. It's basically Kauko, more operating in the IT space, Vulganus in a fairly cyclical machine building space for the food industry. We concluded that these 2 businesses were too small for us, and the time invested did not give us kind of sufficient returns. So these 2 businesses we divested, one prior to the summer breaks and the one during fall. We also had a major exposure to Russia. ESL Shipping fully terminated the Russian business during the summer. When it comes to Telko, we have signed a deal with an industrial Russian player, JK Himik, and this deal, although being signed, the closing of the deal will require approval by the governmental commission in Russia. And when it comes to Leipurin, we're still having negotiations with the buyers. We want to make sure that before we sign, we find a buyer who is also able to close this deal. But basically the ambition is to, as soon as possible, fully exit the Russian market, the Belarus market, and when it comes to Leipurin, also Kazakhstan, because it's an integrated constellation when it comes to Leipurin, Russia, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. We were able to do a very transformative move when it comes to ESL Shipping. We completed this pooling structure after the summer breaks. Basically, we acquired 12 electric hybrid vessels, which we will receive in 2023 fall until 2026. But the good news here is that we only invested half of the CapEx, basically 70 million euros, and invited a lot of other investors in sharing the CapEx burden. And by doing that, we will improve our return on capital. And at the same time, we offer a very interesting business opportunity for the investors. Extremely environmentally friendly vessels Basically, these Green Coasters vessels, if you look at emissions per transported volume, it is approximately half compared to the traditional vessels. And this is a very transformative setup for ESL, which also allows us to use this in the future, which means that we will require a lot less CapEx going forward. Telko, I mentioned that we've done 2 acquisitions, fairly small ones. Mentum in the Baltic countries, a bit more than 10 million euros of revenue in lubricants. And then in plastics in Norway, Johan Stengs, approximately 5 million euros of revenue. Both of these are kind of add-on acquisitions for Telko, which we will integrate into Telko. We're also looking for kind of more major acquisitions, kind of platform acquisitions for Telko entering into fully new countries. Leipurin, a very transformative move for us. Basically, we're exiting Russia, leaving 25 million euros behind in Russia and Kazakhstan and Belarus. And at the same time, we were able to make an acquisition in Sweden, Kobia, giving us more than 50 million euros of revenue. Great synergies in these transactions. We were able to introduce new principles across the border. We will offer the principal more larger geographical space. And we will also, we have now some production in Sweden. We can sell these products in Finland and the Baltic countries, etc. And we're looking to find some sales and leaseback opportunities when it comes to the real estate, which was part of the deal. And that will, again, then, when we succeed with that, it will free up some capital. Very transformative move from Leipurin. Then finishing off, Aspo as an investment, we're very much focused on sustainability, very much focused on growth and growing cash flows, growing earnings, and investing in businesses which will allow us to have a very stable development going forward. This briefly about Aspo, and I'm happy to take any questions that this presentation may arise.
Thank you. We do indeed have some questions through the webcast. We'll start off with some more general questions, and first one is, why did Aspo decide to switch your strategy towards a serial acquirer?
I think if you analyze Aspo in kind of the new business environment, so we have had quite a lot of Russian exposure, which leads easily to a discount when it comes to valuation multiples. We want to get rid of that. We have had a structure of a more traditional conglomerate. I also think that will lead to a discount and from a valuation perspective. And hence we need to take a more active role in managing the businesses and generating value. And I think acquisitions is one really interesting opportunity to look at.
Then next is, what kind of acquisitions are you looking for? I guess this was partly answered in your presentation, but if you still want to sum it up.
I think the 2 best examples of the acquisitions we're looking at, if we kind of think of existing businesses, it's very much focused on Telko. It's in the Nordic region, Eastern Europe, also Western Europe, where we're looking at acquisition, smaller and larger ones, primarily chemicals, value-added chemicals, value-added plastics. And then in addition, we're looking for entirely new businesses of Aspo. I would say well-performing businesses, enterprise value 30-50 million euros, with great opportunities both for organic and non-organic growth. That would be kind of our space.
One more general question is, which serial acquirer do you admire?
I think based on this presentation as well, you realize that we will not become the compounder who compounds, let's say, tens or even hundreds of small businesses that we leave independent. We look at creating a couple of growth platforms and then using acquisitions to create value in each of these, and very much focusing on levers to create kind of stable cash flow. I will not mention any kind of good examples here, but I think you're very well familiar with companies who have kind of picked this type of strategy.
Sure. Then let's go into dividends. Aspo has been well known for its lavish dividend policy. The high dividend payout conflicts a lot with the serial acquirer model. How do you plan to fit together serial acquirer model and high dividend payout?
It will require from us very tough prioritization when it comes to investment, and it will also require kind of continuous good financial performance, as we have showed during the past 2 years. That will allow us to continue on the path that we chose.
Continuing on capital allocation, shipping company ESL contributes a large part of Aspo's earnings and value. ESL ties a lot of capital. How does a shipping company fit in your serial acquirer strategy?
Here it's very important to go into the details of ESL Shipping. So personally, I see ESL a lot closer to an infra investment compared to a pure shipping company. So if you look at the kind of common shipping companies, the bulk of their business is in the spot market, typically having contracts which includes a couple of transportations a month, 2 months, etc. And we're in a business where we have extremely close industrial partner relationships working for years and years, making it a very stable business. And then if you add new financial instrument, you add the ESG transformation, it becomes extremely interesting, reducing capex requirements and at the same time kind of building growth in kind of taking the scope 3 emissions and offering a solution of that to your industrial customers.
We have a number of questions here, so let's keep on going. Aspo has been a very static owner for its current businesses, but now it sounds that Aspo is more open for M&A also in these businesses. Is this the right interpretation?
It is the right interpretation. So Telko, we've done some acquisitions already. We are planning to do a lot more. And then if you look at Leipurin, I think the market structure does not allow you to do a lot kind of serious series of acquisitions, but the Kobi acquisition in Sweden was instrumental to turn around Leipurin's performance.
Next is on future structures of M&A. Do you need to fully own all businesses, or would you be willing to consider other options? Obviously, this would open up a lot more M&A opportunities.
We are definitely willing to consider different ownership stakes, so I wouldn't rule anything out. Preferably, we would like to be in the driving seat, but even that could be negotiated.
Next, we have a question on leverage. Aspo has historically been operating with a major leverage. Now, as we all know, rates have risen significantly and debt has become more expensive. Does this change in rates affect your view regarding the level of leverage you use?
We need to carefully also follow up on the costs of capital and the interest rates. As you know, and as I showed, we've been lowering our gearing over the past year and strengthening our balance sheet. And of course, this supports this concern that you raise. I think this is just one element of being efficient. So we need to be careful on that. At the same time, we want to keep up a good return on equity, and we have delivered over the past quarters return on equity beyond 30%. So we're very happy with those type of results.
So last question for now. Dividend has been a big role in capital allocation. Will the dividend be in smaller role when seeking the compounder status? Both might be difficult to achieve. I guess this was to some extent answered, but maybe if you still want to wrap up.
Yeah. Basically, we've been paying dividends in the magnitude of 14 plus million euros now per year, and we're committed to the dividend strategy of slightly increasing dividends from time to time, from year to year. And again, I'm going back to fact that this we will need to deliver on the financial performance of the businesses that allows this to happen in the future.
That was all questions. Thank you for your presentations, and next up we have Realize.
Thank you.